everyone, I'm Olivia.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're Drivin and Vibin.
Today we're going to continue our Monday Q&A series where we answer one of our YouTube questions in depth about RV life. And today we are here at Nia Bay on the beautiful Pacific Ocean, so hopefully you'll be able to hear us over these waves.
Yep, so we're going to try our best to project. I'm a little sinusy right now, so I apologize. But our question this week is from Willie B. And he says, my girlfriend has been very stressed out thinking about our trip, and she doesn't do much video watching like your video, for example. Is there anything that either of you were very nervous about that was really no big deal, or something you didn't think about at all that is now a big concern?
So we'll break this question down into those two sections. The first will cover things that we were concerned about that turned out to be no big deal, even though there's still sometimes concerns, not big ones. And the second section will be things that, are concerns.
Yep, maybe things we didn't quite think about before we hit the road, or something we did think about but we didn't think would be as big of a deal as it turned out to be.
So let's start with some of the no big deal ones.
Alright, so to start out, my first thing that I was afraid of is that we were going to forget something. Packing the camper, pulling down the road, I was so afraid that we forgot to bring something. And I think that's a natural feeling, kind of.
Anytime someone goes on vacation or goes out of town for anything, that's been a common theme that we've experienced in our life. But the truth of this is we can get anything we need to anywhere, and or most anywhere, and if we did leave it and it was a big concern, one of our parents could mail it to us.
Yep, and the thing is we didn't really know what we would need before we hit the road, so it took getting out there to actually realize what we need and don't need.
So the next topic that was really no big deal after a while was towing. In the beginning, it definitely took time to learn how to tow the camper with this Ford Ranger. I've never really towed anything in my life before, but I can say after 8 months of travel, it just feels like second nature now. And while it's still something to be aware about when we're driving down the road, it's not something that I lose sleep over.
Yep, definitely. The next thing is safety. For us, this was more like an unknown than a big fear we had. I think our friends and family were a little bit more fearful for us, and that we were going to get attacked by some lunatic when we were out boondocking. But we were also kind of more concerned about whether or not theft was an issue when we were away from our camper, and how worried we should be with that. But it's turned out to not be that big of a deal. We've realized once we've been on the road that most people are just good people kind of doing what we're doing. That doesn't mean don't be careful and be mindful and use your instincts, but for the most part we've only met very kind and helpful people.
And different from like a life in sticks and bricks where complacency can become the norm, here out on the road you are never complacent because your senses are always going about every new location you're in. So that heightened sense awareness really makes safety less of a concern than it was in a sticks and bricks.
You're always on your toes, and the great part about having a mobile home is you can get up and leave if you ever do feel uncomfortable.
So next we got the dog. We didn't know what to expect. We were never dog owners before. We got rid for the trip as a companion and as security.
About 6 months before we hit the road, we got her. And, we knew we wanted a companion for the road, and we just didn't know how she would adjust. Thankfully, she was warming up to car rides before we left. She was a little nervous at first with that. I think she kept thinking we were going to drop her back off at the pound or something. But she loves car rides, and so we felt good about that. But we didn't know what she would be like being in a new place all the time, and it turns out she loves it.
There's always a risk of her running away if she gets off the line, but as long as we're aware of the surroundings and we just are mindful about the situation, it hasn't been an issue. Yeah,
we were kind of worried about her getting lost because since we only had her for 6 months and she was an adult when we got her, her training wasn't perfect, and it's definitely not good off leash. She knows her commands on leash, but off leash she gets her mind set on something and she goes. But she's gotten off a few times, and really,
it's never been a big deal.
Yeah, if there's people around, she'll go up to the people, or a lot of times she doesn't know she's free, and she just is kind of staying within her radius, and we, grab her before she realizes. And another thing for me that I was kind of worried about More so kind of as we first started our trip is if she had any like health emergencies, being able to find a vet quickly and easily, but that's turned out to, be easy enough. If we have internet access, it's pretty easy to find.
So next we have mechanical issues as a concern. And this is always a concern. Something can always go wrong, and things have gone wrong on the road. But what we've learned is that all you got to do is deal with it, and it's not a big deal.
Yep, and we have Good Sam's roadside assistance, and we've used that once before. There's a lot of ways to research and get help if you need it.
Yep, let's see. And then the last issue on the no big deal one was not one of Olivia's, but it was one of mine, and that was using a vault toilet. Prior to this new lifestyle, I've never really went camping before, so the whole experience was new. And I thought using public restrooms in general, but specifically a vault toilet, might be, intimidating, disgusting, fearful, but it feels like home now.
I wouldn't say it feels like home, but it's not as scary as it was. We have seen some scary vault toilets, don't get us wrong. But usually at these small boondocking sites that we go to, or these camping sites, they're usually pretty well maintained. Next we have new fears or concerns, more so after we hit the road, and things that we pay attention to.
So this is going to answer the second part of the question, just some of our valid concerns or the things that approached us newly.
So the first thing is our income and expenses. We support ourselves through our Etsy shop, and so we can't rely on that to be a consistent amount each month. So some months we might, go a little bit over our budget. Some months we come in a little below it. So that means we might have to take out of savings or something like that, which we don't like to do. Or we'll have unexpected expenses that we need to take out of savings, and that's, it's never fun to pull money out of savings.
We spent a year building our savings account to take the burden off, and it's still always a concern, though. We've wanted to create new streams of revenue, which we've been working towards lately, and we're starting to see those come to fruition. But once we can consistently make, above our budget so we can put money in savings, then that concern will really go on the back burner. But we haven't quite reached that savings point yet.
Yeah, right now we're just doing good to break even. So once we could start saving a little bit, we would feel a lot better about that.
So the next one is just really the biggest fear and concern of mine in general, and that's not having internet access. Before we hit the road, I thought internet would be easy to come by, or I thought my internet appetite wasn't as strong as it is, or that now for these new sources of revenue we're trying to make, we have to have internet.
Yep.
So it is a constant concern to have that access.
And we thought we were going to be able to use free internet sources or campground Wi-Fi, and it turns out that is just not reliable or fast internet, so we can hardly get anything done on those sources. So we had to just add to our our devices list as we went along, and we got a few different devices. We got our WeBoost antenna to boost our cell service, and a few other things like that, the Wi-Fi Ranger.
We highly recommend the WeBoost antenna. That's been a game changer for us, and that really helps us get internet whenever we don't have good connectivity. But there are some places that we've just had to leave before because we can't operate our business without any internet.
Yep, and it makes me a little nervous too, especially if I don't have any cell signal and I don't have any internet. My go-to thing if there's an emergency or something I'm worried about is to look it up. You're gonna Google whatever you're worried about, my dying of throat cancer or whatever, or just need to find that emergency vet. It's nice to be able to look up, businesses in the area.
So the next area of concern that remains a concern as we travel is leaks. Whether it is a leak coming from the roof or a leak in our freshwater tanks, we move so much, vibrate the camper so much, that things are bound to become loose and disconnected. We have to constantly be aware of leaks and where they're coming from.
Yep, we're resealing windows and seams and things like that all the time. And it's a pain, but it's just something that goes along with dragging your home around bumpy roads and putting it in those earthquake situations all the time.
It's amazing to be in the desert though for months at a time where there is no rain. We can forget about that. So if you're going to the desert, it's no big deal.
Yep.
So next we got battery life.
Yep. We didn't anticipate our battery life when boondocking and how our solar would keep up with our fridge and other things, and so we realized we really have to keep an eye on that. To compensate for that, we did get a generator along the way to kind of help balance it out a bit and not rely solely on the solar power, which is unfortunate, and hopefully we can utilize it better, but we did not expect how quickly that battery would get drained.
Yep, we definitely have to be mindful of it as we go, but not something that hinders us too much. If we had a bigger space, it'd be awesome to have more solar and a bigger battery bank.
Yep.
So that's something for the future.
Yeah, but our roof is maxed out right now.
And so the next thing we have is gas prices. I love to read gas price news every morning, and I love to research where the cheapest gas is, but it's always a concern. We're out in Washington right now, heading to Oregon and then California, and the gas prices are so high out here compared to the rest of the nation.
Yep.
It's a concern. It's good to be mindful about it. Another reason we love being in the desert.
It just takes a little extra planning. We'll plan ahead of time to go ahead and get gas in an area we're in before we head to like a new area where the gas prices are going to be higher, or plan to make a stop along the way with good gas prices. You use your Gas Buddy app for that, and that's really helpful. Not too big of a deal, but something to keep in mind, especially around tourist areas and national park areas. They tend to be really high there.
Definitely. So in the last area of concern that we have to remain very vigilant on is wildlife and plants.
Yep, so we've been in newer environments than we've ever been before. So we went out to the desert, and there's all these cacti and scorpions and snakes and things, and River has this habit of pouncing wherever she hears a sound, and so I was pulling little stickers out of her paws all the time.
Olivia almost sat on a scorpion once, and I thought we were under a bear attack once. So it's just these new environments with these creatures that we're not familiar with.
We've never been in an area with bears before, and when we were camping at the Grand Teton National Park, we were so scared of bears the whole time. We thought they were going to come right through our windows. There's all these warning signs everywhere, and we just didn't know what to expect, really. We probably seemed silly to some of you, but we were worried about a bear.
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
And just some of the other things, other wildlife, when we have the dog and we go hiking, we worry about running into any animals along the way there, and we've been around some aggressive mule deer before that didn't like her very much. And an animal that, we didn't anticipate being worried about is other dogs. We've realized there are some irresponsible dog owners out there, and River has been bit twice on this trip by unleashed dogs, so, it's something you gotta be alert and aware of.
And on that note, we added a little bonus category for you, and this is going to address River's fears, the things that she's fearful about on this RV life journey.
She had a few things to say, so we wrote them down. River is afraid of being left in the camper. She does not like to be left in the camper for any longer than an hour.
And she'll deal with 3 hours, but then she'll start letting us know that she's really annoyed with us.
The next one is horses. She does not feel great about horses. She usually just stands frozen while they pass, and then as they leave, she kind of goes berserk and whines and whimpers and freaks out and barks.
She hates baths.
Yeah, she knows exactly when it's time for a bath too. If I open that bathroom door, she immediately locks up and starts trembling. She is terrified of baths in the shower.
And one of the most interesting fears River has told us about is that she has fears of homeless people, especially if they're asking for money.
I don't know about that last part, but she doesn't like homeless people for some reason. We've come to like stoplights before, and just, I guess, maybe all the hair and the smells and things like that. I mean, she just gets all alert, and her hair stands up, and she gets this low growl. Like, she doesn't
happened multiple times.
she doesn't trust anyone with a lot of facial hair and maybe some questionable hygiene.
And maybe because they're approaching the truck, but even in the distance, sometimes it's been that way. So
yeah, it's odd. Mainly men too. I don't think she's ever been that way with a woman.
Must have been a past life for River. So those are all of our fears. whether they are a reoccurring thought or they're no big deal. Hopefully that answered your question. And don't forget, if you have any questions, you can leave them here in the comments below.
Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for participating and giving us these great questions. Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. If it was, please give it a like or share it with your friends. And thank you so much for joining us. Leave your comments below and we'll see you next time.
Later on.